Hello and welcome to livealittlehigher.com. Today we're learning Ahavas Israel, the love your fellow as yourself. And today I want to teach you chapter 32 of the Tanya, written by the Alter Rebbe, Rabbi Shneur Salman of Liadi. This week is his anniversary of coming out of the prison in Tsarist Russia in St. Petersburg in the year 1798. And he was imprisoned because he was spreading the wealth of Hasidut to the world, the mystical teachings of the Torah. And at that time, not only people could not teach Torah in Russia, this was a grave felony, but also many people from the Jewish communities were not supportive of him teaching this wellspring of Torah. They felt that the world was not ready for this, and this is the reason why he was put in jail. So he understood, he was a very saintly person, and he understood that this judgment was not only in the physical realm, in the world, but it was a judgment that was also going on in the spiritual realm. He understood that he was being judged in heaven. There was a big judgment in heaven to see if the teachings of Hasidut were ready for the world, that if he was able to bring this down to the world and give it to the world. And this was the whole thing that we were at that time being judged to see if this was ready for us. And when he came out on the 19th of Kislev, this is a day that is celebrated through all Chabad. It's called the Rosh Hashanah of Chabad because it's like a new life came in, that we are able to learn these teachings. So chapter 32 of Tanya, which is the chapter in Hebrew, is called the Lamed Bet chapter. It spells the word lev, and the word lev means heart, and this constitutes the heart of Hasidim. This really, to love your fellow as yourself, is the whole basis of the Torah. If you want to know what's your relationship with God, look at your relationship with others. You cannot have a beautiful relationship with God if you don't have a beautiful relationship with His creation. So in this chapter, in the previous chapters before chapter 32, the Tanya recommended that one conduct a self-assessment of his own deeds and spiritual level, that we should have a heshbon every day, that we should always be honest, looking at our deeds, at our thoughts, at the way that we behave, and we should continuously be looking at ourselves so we can be able to better ourselves, to grow, to evolve. And this sense really comprises the animal soul, and rejoicing only in the joy of the divine soul. So only when you are connected to your divine soul, one is going to be truly joyful. So one's animal soul, a physical soul, is not yet worthy of giving one joy. The animal soul is not going to give you joy ever, because this soul is never happy. It's never content. He always wants more. And you have a nice car, he wants the next car. You have a nice dress, you want the next dress. You ate a good piece of meat, what else can I eat? And it's a soul that can never be content. So when a person attains a joy, really, and he can overcome all suffering, but this really comes from your connection to your divine soul. So it is, he says, a direct and easy path leading to the fulfillment of this commandment: you shall love your fellow as yourself. And this mitzvah is not only important on its own terms, but it also gives us a means of assessing our spiritual progress. A person who cannot love his fellow as himself is equally unable to love God, and which includes every Jew from great to small. So the Rabbi Adin Steinsvold, in his book of the Tanya, he gives us some very special insights. And so he says, what is it that divides people? What causes one person to look down upon another person? What accounts for the all too familiar phenomenon that people cannot tolerate one another? And he says that this, the Alter Rebbe explains that people generally evaluate themselves and others in terms of their physical being. So yes, when you're judging people by their characteristics, by their personalities, by their situations in life, their physical situations, this is when judgment comes in. But at the end of the day, when we see people through the lens of the godliness neshama, when we are able to tap into people's godly spark, then that hatred, that divisiveness really melts away, and you really realize that you're all the same. So each member of the Jewish people is meaningful and vital to every other member. One can never dissociate himself from one another, from their needs, troubles, or illnesses, just as the head cannot say, what happens to the fingers is none of my concern. I once had an accident where a metal stool fell on my foot, and I almost broke my toe. It was very painful. I was for a whole month without being able to put on a shoe. And suddenly I started getting other aches in my face, in my back. I had terrible toothache. I go to the dentist and I say, I think I have a cavity, something's going on, I'm dying of pain. He makes the x-ray, like he says, Margie, nothing, there's nothing, you don't have any cavity, you have nothing going on. So he tells me, so tell me what's going on in your body. And I said, well, I had this accident, and I've been like not being able to put my foot on the floor. I've been walking with the slippers in the streets. I'm miserable, and my whole body is not aligned. And he says, okay, like that accident in your toe affects even your teeth. So we see here that we're talking about the body that is one organism, that if you have a pain in the toe, it's gonna hurt even up to your head. We see that here it's the same. Like one Jew is hurting, we're all hurting. If one is rejoicing, we're all rejoicing. So this perspective leads to love a fellow Jew that is not necessarily emotional, but essentially one of caring. So this mitzvah of loving someone else as yourself really is about caring. This is about caring about other people. It's when you care about other people, then you are loving them. So when one is suffering, I am suffering. So because the divine presence is the Shekhinah is synonymous with the congregation of Israel, with the totality of all the Jewish souls. So we see that the Jewish people are one as a whole. And when I see sometimes in the news, I see Jews that are against Jews, it's like it's mind-boggling, like they're singing and rooting the other team, and they're even calling for the eradication of the Jewish people and the Jewish state. This is something that really is very, like you say, like I cannot believe it. What's wrong with these people? But this is exactly this. They're completely disconnected from the body. They're not connected to the whole. And so the Jew, we cannot hate these people because they're part of us. They're part of us. And the right approach to this is that we hurt with them. Like, okay, they're sick to their heads. We hurt with them. Like they're ignorant, they don't know better. Who knows what they put in their heads? They don't know history. They don't know nothing. So the response is not to hate them, is to love them and to try to bring them back. So the Alter Rebbe continues saying that it's really only their bodies that are distinct, that they're different. And also he draws down the light. He refers that when we go back to the essence of who we are, we can trace it down to the never-ending light of God. It's called the Or Ein Sof, which emanates all the souls. So when you go back to the root of where we're coming from, we all come from the same place. We come from the same light. It's just that in the coming down through the worlds, the light becomes independent and each one goes into a different body. But if you go back and you trace it to where it comes from, we all come from the same light. So the Alter Rebbe in the Tanya, in this chapter, which is a long chapter, and I'm not going to go over it, the whole thing, but in reality, he gives us the antidote to feeling hatred towards other people, and the antidote to this is compassion, it's mercy. And mercy nullifies the hatred and evokes love. When a person goes into compassion, it doesn't mean this other person has to become your best friend. It doesn't mean you have to go out with them all the time. It can be a toxic person that you try to leave on the side because it really harms you. It has nothing to do with that. What it means is that when you type to compassion, when you try to get into this person's shoes, into their clothes, into their body, and live their lives, go to their personality, where they grew up, the situation they're in. You try to immerse into their lives, and you try to take off your clothes and put their clothes on and try to see it from their eyes, their perspective, then this compassion is gonna be, it's gonna break down all judgment. You're not gonna be able to judge a person. Because really, to be able to judge a person, you really have to be in their shoes. And if you're not in their shoes, and we're never going to be really in the shoes of anybody, because even if you put on their shoes, you're not in their shoes. You can get a tasting of what it feels like to be in their shoes, but you're not going to get it 100% because your personality is a different personality. Your way of feeling is a different way of feeling. Your perspective is a different perspective. So the only way to get rid of hatred is through breaking down judgment and distance and to understand where people are coming from. So Rabbi Adin Steinsveld, he said that this is only possible to be able to do this. One must love others just as one loves himself, that despite his intimate knowledge of his own imperfections and flaws, and even though he may simultaneously hate himself for them, these ideas expressed in the verse, love covers all transgressions. This is a proverb. Love does not conceal the facts, but rather it changes the evaluation of those facts. So yes, we started saying that we have to make a heshbon hanefesh. We have to ask ourselves every day where we are standing. Ayeka, where are you? And look honestly at yourself. And if you can live with that, and you can forgive yourself and go on in life and try to make better things tomorrow and try to be a better human being, the same way that you treat yourself, your failings, you should treat other people too. So this is really a reverse of perception. It's a way of looking at things through a different lens. We can see that the situation can be the same situation, but the perspective can change the way you feel. So there's many stories that are told of Rabbi Levi Yitzhak of Berdichev. He was known as a person that never gave a bad judgment on anybody. He was always looking how he could judge someone favorably. And it says that in some of these stories, the shift in focus is so radical as to appear humorous and almost absurd. For instance, when Rabbi Levi Yitzhak looked out his window one morning, he saw a wagon driver reciting the morning prayers, dressed in a prayer shawl and tefillin. Even as he was greasing his wagon wheels, Rabbi Levi Yitzhak exclaimed, "Master of the world, look, even when a Jew greases his wheels, he's praying to you." So another person would say, look at that person, what a lack of respect. Like, how can he be greasing the wheels of his wagon and praying to God at the same time? And he was able to reverse the perspective and said, look, this person is so in love with God that even when he's greasing the tires of his wagon, he still has devotion towards Hashem. So this is the way that we should look at people. This is the way we should look at ourselves. In reality, if we cannot look at ourselves with this eye, then we also have a problem, because if it doesn't start with us, then we cannot do it for others. So in reality, in the merit of the Tanya, of the Rabbi Adin, of the Alter Rebbe, Rabbi Shneur Salman of Liadi, we're able to learn these truths and to be able to be better people, more loving, more caring. And this is what the world really needs. So I want to wish you a blessed week, and remember, live a little higher. Thank you.